An EastEnders viewer has taken to Reddit after sharing a TikTok clip in which a fan highlighted an apparent blunder involving Gray Atkins and Chelsea Fox. In the scene, Gray, who is serving a prison sentence for the murders of his wife Chantel Atkins, Tina Carter and Kush Kazemi, was shown lying in a hospital bed without handcuffs while speaking to Chelsea about their son. The TikTok clip was captioned, "EastEnders made a little mistake." The Reddit user criticized the soap, writing, "Are the writers this lazy? I didn't even notice this until now. These writers need to be fired with immediate effect." The post quickly attracted plenty of responses from other viewers who shared their opinions about the scene. One commenter argued that Gray should have been under constant supervision, saying he would likely have had at least 2 prison staff members or contractors watching him. They also questioned how Chelsea, who was not his next of kin, or even listed as a visitor, could have been allowed to enter the hospital so easily. Another viewer sarcastically pointed out that apparently leaving a convicted serial killer unrestrained in a hospital bed was considered acceptable. A third fan agreed with the criticism, insisting there was no realistic situation in which Gray would be left without handcuffs or prison officers nearby, particularly because he is a Category A prisoner. However, not everyone blamed the show's writers for the mistake. One viewer suggested the issue may have been caused by the props department or the director rather than the scriptwriters, arguing that writers are unlikely to be responsible for every small detail on set. Another commenter made a similar point, explaining that writers create the scripts but do not necessarily control the props used during filming. They admitted that the missing restraints were a noticeable oversight, but added that mistakes can happen in television productions. Earlier this week, Ian Beale stunned viewers when he stabbed notorious killer Gray Atkins during a dramatic confrontation inside prison. Gray is serving time for murder, while Ian ended up behind bars after accidentally hitting Jordan while driving over the legal alcohol limit. Although Ian's actions left Jordan wheelchair-bound, Gray initially appeared to sympathize with him and formed a friendship, though his intentions were far from genuine. Gray had secretly planned to manipulate Ian into helping him get closer to Chelsea, while his grandmother Sheila was tasked with taking Jordan out of the country and escaping to Morocco. However, the scheme collapsed when Kim and Denise caught up with Sheila at the airport and prevented her from fleeing with Jordan. During Thursday's episode, Gray became furious with Ian after believing that he had warned Chelsea about what was happening when she visited him in prison. Ian insisted that he had not betrayed him, but Gray continued threatening him while holding a makeshift weapon. Gray accused Ian of saying too much and claimed that everything he had done was simply an attempt to protect his son from Chelsea's influence. A terrified Ian reminded Gray that he had followed every instruction he had been given and insisted that he had no information to pass on to anyone. Ian then attempted to activate the emergency alarm, but Gray overpowered him and slammed him to the ground before continuing to threaten him. Ian tried to make Gray understand his situation by revealing that his own children had once been taken away by their mother, leaving him devastated because he had no idea whether he would ever see them again. Gray explained that when he had seen Jordan, all he could see was Chelsea, and claimed that he felt as though she had deliberately erased him from his son's life. He insisted that all he wanted was an opportunity to build a relationship with Jordan. However, Ian pushed Gray further by pointing out that even if Sheila had successfully taken Jordan, Gray would still have remained behind bars. Ian questioned why Gray would want to separate Jordan from the only family he had ever known. Gray became enraged and insisted that Jordan was his son and belonged with him. As Gray grew increasingly aggressive, Ian made a desperate attempt to grab the weapon from him, triggering a violent struggle between the 2 prisoners. During the fight, Ian desperately cried out as they wrestled over the blade. But in a shocking turn of events, Gray was the one who ended up being stabbed. He gradually collapsed onto the floor before delivering one final message to Ian, asking him to tell Jordan that he loved him. Gray was immediately taken to hospital, leaving Ian terrified that the attack could result in an even longer prison sentence. Ian maintained that he had acted in self-defense. However, officers told him that no final decision would be made until they knew whether Gray would survive his injuries. Star Wars and EastEnders actor Nick Joseph has sadly died suddenly at the age of 60, prompting an outpouring of tributes from friends, family, and fans. Nick was perhaps best recognized for his role as Major Ahul Hextraphon, the medal bearer who appeared during the famous award ceremony at the conclusion of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. The actor also had appearances in EastEnders, and featured in the classic 1977 James Bond movie, The Spy Who Loved Me. His death was confirmed by close friend Rick Stanley, who revealed that he had received the heartbreaking news from Nick's wife, Dee. Rick said he and his partner, Steph, were devastated by the loss, describing Nick as his best friend and recalling the many adventures they had shared together over the years. Among their memories were the 4 Star Wars events that Rick and Nick had helped organize. He also spoke emotionally about how excited Nick had been about the upcoming 50th anniversary celebrations for Star Wars. Rick finished his tribute by sending his love and prayers to Dee and the rest of the family, while affectionately saying goodbye to his friend and calling him Major Ahul Hextraphon one final time. A family member also remembered Nick warmly, saying that he had lived life to the fullest until the very end, and remained someone who loved to joke and make others laugh. They added that although his life had ended unexpectedly, his memories as a devoted husband, father, stepfather, grandfather, and uncle would continue to live on. Fans were equally devastated by the news, with one expressing their condolences to Dee and the family. Another supporter revealed that they had spoken to Nick less than 2 weeks earlier at a convention in Newcastle, and said he had appeared to be in excellent spirits and good health. They described him as a kind and funny man, before admitting that his sudden passing had come as a huge shock. A third fan called the news heartbreaking and unexpected, revealing that Nick had only recently invited them to attend an event with him and had been making plenty of future plans. Alongside his memorable Star Wars appearance, Nick also had a small role as an armory officer in The Spy Who Loved Me. His final credited appearance came in EastEnders in 2019, when he portrayed Bert, a milkman on the BBC soap. EastEnders star Jacqueline Josser may have unintentionally revealed a major spoiler after sharing a behind-the-scenes photo from the BBC soap. The actress, who plays Lauren Branning, posted an image from the set on social media, but eagle-eyed fans were quick to spot an unexpected detail in the background. The photograph appeared to have been taken from an elevated position, showing the bright Walford skyline. However, viewers soon noticed that the Slater family home was clearly visible, with a large "For Sale" sign positioned outside the property. The discovery has sparked speculation about the future of the popular family. In recent episodes, landlord Suki Panesar Unwin has become increasingly frustrated with the Slaters after revealing that they have fallen several months behind with their rent. Although Suki's wife Eve has a close relationship with the family, Suki warned Jean Slater that her patience was beginning to run out. With Stacey currently away from Walford, Jean has been facing growing financial difficulties and has even thought about secretly renting out one of the bedrooms to bring in some extra money. However, Lily's recent problems with the police have shifted Jean's attention towards protecting her granddaughter and helping her avoid a potential prison sentence. Now, the unexpected appearance of the "For Sale" sign has raised questions over whether the Slaters could soon be forced out of their home. If the family really are set to leave the property, fans will also be wondering where Jean, Lily, and the rest of the Slaters could end up living. EastEnders airs from Monday to Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on BBC One, while episodes are also available to stream on BBC iPlayer, with most installments released online at 6 a.m. before their television broadcast.